We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. This is, of course, the Iowa versus Michigan Big Ten championship game post-game video. This game went exactly how I expected. Right off the bat, I just need to tell you guys that because it's the truth. Doing what I do, specifically as an Iowa Hawkeye fan, has given me the ability to pay attention. And you know, to tell you the truth, I'd probably pay attention to the Hawkeyes like this, regardless of if I did this or not. But I know this Iowa Hawkeye football team and program inside and out. Okay. There's very few things, quite frankly, in this world that I am more familiar with than the Iowa Hawkeye football program and this current team. And I knew that the Iowa Hawkeyes were going to struggle definitively to score points against Michigan's defense, who, if it's even possible, was actually better defensively than the Iowa Hawkeyes defense. The first time all year that that's been the case. I mean, you know, I know when Iowa played Penn State, there were some Penn State fans who got into the comment section and said, you know, this Penn State defense is better than Iowa's defense. Yet, and your boy defended the Iowa Hawkeyes to the death and said, no, just wait till the season's concluded. Iowa will be top 5 in all of the major statistical categories, and essentially that's true. I can't really remember where Penn State stacked up when all was said and done, but it was essentially the case. And so this is the first time that Iowa was going to play a team that was just as good, if not better, than Iowa's defensive unit. And the fact is, Iowa struggled to score points even against defenses that were mediocre, average, below average. Now, they played a lot of good defenses too. This is not, you know, the first good defense that Iowa has faced, but I would say it's definitely the best. And I knew, and I think a lot of fans knew this too, that Iowa was going to struggle to score points. Now, just a game summary here. Little quick game recap in case you missed the game. By the way, guys, got a new camera. The channel's growing, and so I decided it was time to get 26-0 final score, Michigan over Iowa. The reason why I decided not to do a live video for this, well, it's a few things. I mean, I've talked about it already. You know, the live stream serves two purposes. One, to have you guys involved, which I love to do. And two, to receive super chats. And, you know, ultimately, sometimes it's just easier to do a pre-recorded video. You know, this year the super chats has not been great, which is fine. You know, this is something that I do as a hobby and for fun, and I would never expect that or anything from you guys. I'm just keeping it real, you know. And you know, at the time of me recording this, it's 9 o'clock where I'm at. You know, in the Midwest, it's going to be 11 o'clock. So, but the Iowa Hawkeyes. Okay, this game was basically 2 quarters that decided the outcome of this game. The first quarter and the second quarter, in which Michigan scored 10 points in both. But look at the Iowa Hawkeyes. Look at this play-by-play, each possession. Punt, 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 fumble. And this one was the dagger. I knew that when that happened, the Hawkeyes were not going to be able, because they were not going to be able to overcome it, because ultimately a team that is as offensively challenged as Iowa is has to capitalize on the few opportunities that they get, especially against a defense like Michigan's. That's just the facts. The facts, folks. And I knew that that was going to be a dagger, that Iowa was unable to even put 3 points on the board going into halftime, chipping away, unable to chip away at the lead. And as I said in my pregame video, that was a very popular video, by the way, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, including Michigan fans. I said that this was going to be exactly what happened in the last Big Ten championship game, where the defense does pretty good. They're doing their best to hold Michigan, but ultimately Michigan's offense is still pretty solid. Iowa's defense is not going to be able to limit them forever, even if Iowa's offense was even if Iowa's offense provided some relief, which it doesn't. Michigan's offense would still score because they got athletes on that all over the field. But I knew that eventually, just like last time, the walls were going to cave on this defense, and they were not going to be able to limit Michigan. So I really want to get into the overview of this game and kind of what this game symbolizes. By the way, like I said, the channel continues to grow despite me doing this as a hobby. The facts are the facts. This channel continues to grow. So I decided to get a better webcam. Hope you guys can see the difference. I still haven't been able to I still haven't had the time to check on the settings and, recalibrate it to look the best for where I particularly record and the room I'm in. But let's look at this Big Ten Championship 2021. 42-3. So at least it wasn't that. Okay. But still very, very similar outcome. So punt. Oh, this was the second fumble that Iowa had. 3 plays, 9 yards, and they fumbled. It must have been Nico Reganey who fumbled. Fumble right before half. Right after a Michigan touchdown, no less. Downs. So they got a turnover on downs. Punt. Fumble. Downs. I mean, holy crap. Iowa had 3 fumbles in this game. So let's just look at the team stats, and then I'm going to give an overview. This is the most important part of the video. Total yards, 213 to 147. Really not that much better. But the fact is that the Iowa offense, not only did they not help Iowa by scoring, okay, not only did they not help the team by scoring, they actively hurt the Iowa Hawkeyes with the fumbles and not getting it on fourth down. Fourth down efficiency, 0 for 3. Fourth down efficiency. Guys, Iowa's defense only gave up 213 yards to Michigan. Okay? If this was any other team in the country, they would thank the heavens for only giving up 2. If this was Ohio State, Ryan Day would be astonishingly happy and would almost guarantee that they won that football game if they only gave up 213 yards of total offense. Pass yards, 147 to 120. Rush yards, 66 to 27. Iowa could not run the football. Yards per play, 3.3 to 2.6. Iowa held. I know that Michigan scored 26 points, but if you look at the yards, guys, Iowa's defense played lights the F out. And you know what? Hats off to them. They have been killers all year long, and they deserve maximum amount of credit. They limited Michigan to 3.3 yards per play. Guys, if this is any other team, they would thank the heavens and almost guarantee that this was a victory over any team, really, not just Michigan, but definitely Michigan. First downs, they held Michigan to 12 first downs. That's it. Let's look at let's look at Michigan versus Ohio State. Okay, let's look at the stats in that game. Okay, so you guys get 338 yards of offense, 5.6 yards per play, 18 first downs. I mean, Ohio State would take that in a second. It would be a virtual guaranteed victory. So that's that, guys. I really want to get to the overview. I don't want to spend too much time on the stats because they are what they are, guys. I mean, we've seen this all year long. This is not new. Deacon Hill, 6 of 10, 23 yards. Kayla Brown, 2 carries, 10 yards. LaShawn Williams, 4 carries, 8 yards. Caleb Johnson, 3 carries, 6 yards. Josiah Patterson, 1 carry for 2 yards. Oh, Deacon Hill had a carry for 2 yards. Kayla Brown, 2 receptions, 12 yards. Nico Organi, 1 catch, all game, 8 yards. Addison Ostrego, 1 reception, 0 yards. Tory Taylor averaged 50.3, and that's another key point in the game is Tory Taylor bombs a kick. There's a reason why he was punter of, I believe he's punter of the year in the Big Ten. Let me see. Let's take a look. Tory Taylor, because I know the all defense was, man, he's Ozzy if I ever saw one. Because I know they won't have him next year. That sucks. That really does. I if I were him, I'd do the same thing. I'd probably head off to the NFL too. I mean, he's spent a lot of time at Iowa, and I mean the guy, he's a junior in college, but the guy is like in his mid-20s. Now, as a punter, you have much more longevity than other positions in football. But he's done his time at Iowa. Okay. I could honestly, I can see both sides. Ray Guy Award finalist. Hopefully he wins it. Big Ten punter of the year, Tory Taylor. There it is, right there. Big Ten punter of the year. Okay. We can see why. So, I can see both sides of it. To tell you the truth, he's had a hell of a year. This is probably as high of a note that you can get to upon entering the NFL draft. But, you can also make the case that the punter position is a position where there's only so many spots in the NFL for it. The punting position does not have tons and tons and tons of depth. and it's really a journeyman type position. Like all these punters are journeymen, really, especially the ones that are not like lock and key starters. So you could make the case, well, why not just spend another year in college rather than, rather than being a journeyman in the NFL? What's one more year? So, but it probably is the best that he's going, and I wish him the best. He's been a hell of a punter at Iowa. He's definitely going to go down as I would say he's going to be up there with Nate Kading as one of the best specialists in Iowa football history. Fumbles lost, Iowa 3. Iowa had 7 penalties, 46 for 46 yards. That just can't happen. And going back to what I was saying, Torrey Taylor bombs a kick, and Iowa has multiple missed tackles, and Michigan, the guy runs all the way down, is inside the 10-yard line, and they punch it in for a tub. And it's like, if you have any hopes in beating Michigan, you can't have that. And I know I saw people in the comment section saying, well, if we had Cooper DeJean, it's like, but we don't. We don't. Okay. Yeah. Of course it'd be nice to have Cooper DeJean, both on special teams and on defense. The guy's an all Big Ten DB. Of course it'd be nice to have him, but we don't. And the bottom line is Iowa multiple times now has had slow starts in the Big Ten championship game. They're not prepared. And they make stupid errors like they did on the punt return, missed tackles, and 7 penalties. You're not going to beat Michigan having more penalties than they do. And I said it in my game preview. Michigan is Iowa. They just do it better, and they have more talent to do it. And and I think the stats really reflect that. Like Iowa is still a pretty good team, but Michigan is just better, and they do what Iowa does better. All right, guys. So here is, let's see if they have the tackles and whatnot. No, they don't. So here is my overview of this. So listen, guys, it's awesome that Iowa will play. It's awesome that Iowa played in the Big Ten championship. Okay. You guys know that I feel that way. I've been saying it for weeks now. I wouldn't be doing this if I had some negative feeling about Iowa playing in the Big Ten championship game. And even if that means that there's a decent chance that they're going to get smacked. Okay. It's still very prestigious. Okay. It's free advertising for the program. You see how much content and advertisement went out for both teams for this game. I mean, it's ridiculous. If I were to assign a monetary value to that, it'd be, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It'd be very expensive. Okay. All of this stuff costs a lot of money. Okay. So, you can't, it's great that they made the Big Ten championship game. Now, ultimately, for me, this is a somber reality. And this is why Brian Ferentz has to go. But ultimately, as much as I love Kirk Ferentz, and this is, I saw Kirk Ferentz, his spotlight, and I made a post about it. So I want you guys to know that I have tremendous respect and admiration for Kirk Ferentz as a coach and as a man. Okay. When you look at Kirk, when you think of like becoming a quality person or quality man, Kirk Ferentz is the embodiment of that. So this is what I said. I highly recommend watching the Kirk Ferentz Big Ten Network Spotlight video. Regardless of my thoughts on Brian Ferentz and that situation in general, the offense, so on and so on, I value Kirk Ferentz tremendously. What he has done to improve the Iowa football program, the state of Iowa, and the athletes within the state and the University of Iowa is unmatched. He truly is one of those legendary coaches that programs like Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama have in their history as well. Recruiting in the state of Iowa has risen, and I guarantee it has to do with Kirk Ferentz at Iowa for 25 years. And that's absolutely the case. Kirk Ferentz being at Iowa for 25 years and the countless young men that have come through the program and then move back to Iowa and become coaches in the state of Iowa, or strength and conditioning coaches, whatever the case may be, has helped the athletes, the young athletes, tremendously, which is why Iowa, the last, I'd say 4 or 5 recruiting cycles, has averaged 15 to 25 Power 5. So Power 5 is Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, Big 10 recruits per year. Before the last 5 years, the state of Iowa would be lucky to have like 3 or 4. Like a good year would be like 7. Okay. I mean, there were years where there was only one guy that was worthy of an Iowa scholarship. What turns a program into a blue, and this is the main point that I want you guys to take away from this. What turns a program into a blue blood? Well, lots and lots of wins. New York Six Bowl appearances, national title, and college football playoff appearances, conference championship appearance and victories, prolonged success, so on and on. Kirk does not have all those things, but he definitely has a few. Iowa football has been mostly solid and a competitor for the Big Ten title year in and year out for the past 40 years, plus or minus a few seasons. But for the most part, Iowa has been one of the better teams in the Big Ten for 40 years. I do think the program is close to blue blood status, and it definitely has become a storied football program. So, and I really do think that. So, so thinking about this, what this loss means in the big picture, it's a somber reminder that this is likely the best that it will be under Kirk Ferentz. Okay. And I say that with as much respect and adoration as possible. Ultimately, I have a little bit of optimism with Iowa moving on from Brian Ferentz. And regardless of whether it's Kirk Ferentz or Brian Ferentz or whoever whoever deserves the most blame, I don't think Brian Ferentz is a good offense coordinator. I think the success that he had was mostly due to Ken O'Keefe still being a part of the program as a quarterback's coach. But this is a somber reality that Iowa just is not there. They are not in the upper echelon like Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State are. They're not in the upper echelon like Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, maybe Washington, depending on how many years in a row they can have this continued success. Iowa is a team, is a program that's good, but not great. And Kirk, it seems, is okay with that. He's okay with being really, really good at beating the teams that you're supposed to beat, minus Minnesota, but virtually guaranteed losses to Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, teams like that. And this is why you guys cannot forget when Iowa scores 22 points against Rutgers, you can't forget how bad the offense has been the rest of the other parts of the year. You can't use the excuse, well, yeah, and it's valid. It's somewhat valid. It's not completely valid, and it's true in a certain regard. But I've seen a lot of people, using the excuse of, well, but this player was hurt. This player got hurt. It's amazing that we were able to do that. And there's probably some truth to that. But even before those guys went down, Iowa's offense stunk. and they would still stink, even if those guys were healthy. Would they be slightly better? Maybe, but not much, not much. And so this is a reminder of why you can't forget that, because as long as you keep making excuses for that, that basically means that you're okay. Like, ultimately, you're okay with Iowa winning 10 games, but they're definitely going to lose to Michigan. They're definitely going to lose to Ohio State. They're definitely going to lose to Penn State. Now, I know Iowa did beat Penn State a few years back. I know. Now, it was a down year for Penn State. Penn State did not end up being as good as people thought. But that's essentially where it's at. I mean, and I think as an Iowa fan, that's the question that you have to ask yourself: are you okay with this? Are you okay with Iowa being atrocious offensively, but because of how Iowa manages games and schemes for games and how good their defense is and their special teams, they can win, 8 to 10 wins in the regular season, no problem, especially depending on the schedule. Or is that not enough for you? And you want to compete against the likes of Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State? I think it's a really tough question, because you look at programs like number one, it's not easy to even be a program like Iowa, let alone a Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State or Alabama. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And I look at like a program like Nebraska, and it's like, well, if you don't have a legendary coach in there, yeah, it can be really difficult. Really, really difficult. And, Nebraska still recruits relatively well, but they don't recruit like Ohio State. Ohio State and Michigan recruit so well, no matter who the coach is or how good or not good the coach is, that they're going to be able to compete for the most part. And I guess what I'm getting at is it is really tough. Like, given how difficult it is it really that bad that Iowa is a 10 win team that loses pretty much guaranteed to Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State? But I think conversely, if you look at the context of the situation, the fact is that, and you look at it with the current makeup of the coaching staff and the current situation, it's really not that much that people are asking for. And it's really not that difficult of a change. Like, ultimately, the only thing that fans are really asking for is slight improvement offensively to the status of average. Would Iowa have to give up so much schematically to have an average offense? No, that's crazy. Because logically, Iowa, it's a very calculated way that they play football. And I think in the past, Kirk was much more willing to give the offense opportunities to score and be a little bit more creative, but you'd have more turnovers. You'd have more pressure on the defense. Whereas the way things are now, you have a really good punter. You just basically say, listen, bust that thing 50 yards. As long as we get them on the other side of the 50, we're going to hunker down and defend. We'll be all right. So it's a very interesting thing. I personally think, and I personally lean towards Kirk. It's not that big of a transition or issue, and it would not cause Iowa to change as a program really at all if they had an offense coordinator who was capable of generating just average offensive schemes and average offensive play calls and designs and game plans. You know, because the way things stand now with Brian Ferentz, it's so status quo, guys. It is so status quo. Like, are you really surprised that Iowa scored 0 points? Like, when I did the game preview, I was being generous when I gave Iowa a few points. Like, I knew that Iowa was going to struggle to move the football against Michigan, because I've seen the team all year, how hard it is, how difficult it is for them to score points. The good news is that Iowa has a lot of talent that will be coming back next year. Now, you never know what's going to happen when it comes to the transfer portal, but assuming everybody comes back that should come back, that has eligibility, who has not already declared, Iowa should have some weapons offensively. Caleb Brown, Seth Anderson. Iowa will have one of the better, if not like top 5 running back rooms in the entire Big Ten. LaShawn Williams, Caleb Johnson, Josiah Patterson, the 2 true freshmen. I even think Deontay Vines has a year of eligibility. Addison Ostrenga was able to get some experience. And I think, the big question mark is Eric All and Luke Lachey. Will they return? The bad news is Iowa loses Tory Taylor, and it's not easy to replace a punter like Tory Taylor. And yes, it will make a difference in the outcome as far as wins and losses for the Iowa Hawkeyes if they cannot find a guy who at least can measure up to Tory Taylor. Definitely won't be as good as him. That's highly unlikely, but can measure up. And I don't know who Iowa is going to get. Like, they have nobody else on the roster besides Tory Taylor. He's the only punter. The guy who hit the game-winning field goal versus Nebraska, I thought he came in as a punter, but maybe he came in as a kicker. I don't know. We can check right now. So, and that's going to hurt, guys. That's going to hurt, losing Tory Taylor for sure. So I don't want to keep this video too long. That's pretty much my thoughts. I'm not surprised at all by this loss, and how Iowa lost. I think they held it more respectable. I wish Iowa could have hit the over and under. I wish they didn't lose by 26 points like they did. I would have liked for Iowa to have defied Vegas, but 26-0. Quite frankly, I think most people were expecting it to be another 40-0 route, 40-3, 40-6 route. So 26-0. Ultimately, though, the big question is, am I surprised? And the answer is absolutely not. I knew that this is exactly how the game was going to pan out. And, the thing is, Iowa had their chances. They really did. They had a few. Well, no, I take that back. It's not they really did. They had one chance and they fumbled. Iowa, if you're going to compete with a team like Michigan, you cannot fumble the football 3 times. And that is another example of Kirk Ferentz's teams not being ready for the big moment. But I can go on and on and on with that, guys. I really can. Drew Stevens coming back is definitely good. It's great to have a kicker with as much game experience as Drew Stevens has. People have theorized or hypothesized really that he has the yips. And I said the same thing, that perhaps he's having confidence issues, but we know from his freshman year what he can be. And to tell you the truth, he still had a pretty good year this year, even as a sophomore. Is it Marshall Meter? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, so that's the other one is Ty Neeson. So that's the only other punter that they have on the roster is Ty Neeson, a transfer from Iowa Western. And I think they I think they felt good about landing him and his upside. But Tory Taylor, it was known that he was going to be a stud even before he stepped on Iowa's campus. I mean, it was well known. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to wrap it up here. So Drew Stevens, 19 to 20 extra points, 95%, not bad at all. 18 of 26 for 69.2%. Is not great. It's not. I would really love to see Drew Stevens vis-a-vis the bowl game get that up to 70%. He was money from 20 to 39. It was everything 40 above. And I think you can really just credit that to how young he is as a player. Kickers and punters aren't able to really be deadly from that type of distance until they get like junior and senior. 2022, he was 88.9% field goal percentage, 16 of 18. And again, money from 20 to 39. He was slightly better, 40 to 50. No, he was better. He was 6 of 8, 40 to 50. Whereas this year, he was 6 of 12, 50%. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to a little bit of rest. The season has been daunting, staying up to date with these videos and, doing it consistently. More than happy to do it. And for the most part, it's been a blast. But at times, it can definitely be tiresome. And I'm definitely looking forward to the break. I'll have you guys covered for the bowl games. Definitely for Iowa's bowl game. I think they're probably going to play in the Citrus Bowl. That's what it's looking like. And we're going to transition our focus to Iowa basketball. All right, guys. Last but not least, DBAP. Don't be a pussy willow. Facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, support your boy. If you guys want to donate to the channel, you guys absolutely can. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.